Welcome to our Swift Epiphanies.
I'm Tanya.
And I'm Emery.
We're a mother and daughter with an admiration
and a little obsession
for Taylor Swift.
In this podcast, we let you in on our discussions of Taylor's artistry,
her genius,
and her poetry.
Her music evokes powerful emotions
and has led to epiphanies both personal and universal.
Come along and join our deep conversations as we share our Swift epiphanies. In preparing for today's conversation, I've just been starry-eyed. And I've just been thinking about all the wonderful things about my own relationship. It's been kind of fun.
That's really sweet. I was doing the opposite. I was thinking of how I should probably put a disclaimer in here about how I've never been in a relationship.
Oh, your dad and I have probably made it hard for you because of the high expectations that both we and you have on a relationship. I'm so sorry, but I'm not, because you deserve the best.
No, it's been funny listening to these songs because I've had Taylor Swift in my life for my whole life. And so I feel like I have this grip on what relationships should and shouldn't be. And in a sense, I feel like I've been in hundreds because of her music. But it's funny when I sit back and I realize, oh, I don't relate to this song at all. And it's just like that subtle realization. But on the other hand, like I have seen many wonderful relationships in my life, and I have friends that I have wonderful relationships with. And so I'm able to see what's a healthy relationship and what's not based on those around me, and also just listening to her songs. And I also wanted to mention that our categorization of these songs as healthy relationships is not in any way dependent on the relationship that Taylor herself was in at the time of writing the song. How it ended, what happened, any of that drama is not what we're talking about today. We're just talking about the lyrics themselves and the songs at that face value, just the songs.
Right. And the way that she can capture these characteristics of a healthy relationship through poetry and through song and through musicality, all of that. You've mentioned that through her songs, you've kind of seen this manifestation of these relationships in good ways and the manifestations of the relationships around us in the bad ways too. And I think learning from both sides of it is really important in deciding how you want your relationship to be, characteristics of the person you want. And I think Taylor Swift has done a really, really good job at giving relationship advice and showing people what you deserve, what you shouldn't have to put up with, and things like that. So some of these one-liners are just amazing to me, that she can capture what a good relationship can be within one-liners. It's been fun for me to kind of pinpoint some of those things.
Yeah, as I was going through, I was writing down some of the lines that I feel like just speak love, and Taylor writes love in such a poetic way that really the standards are high, which is a good thing, but it's definitely really beautiful to read through these lines and just to feel the depth of what you should feel when you are in love and when you find that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. So as we get into this is kind of a piggyback off of our bonus episode about Hoax, and how our eyes were opened to that song being about this healthy, good relationship. And so today we're going to talk about these healthy relationships portrayed in Taylor's songs, where you feel entirely in love and you're receiving that from the other side as well. And we're going to talk about the specific lines that we feel speak love. So to start, when we first thought of this theme that we wanted to talk about, I immediately thought of Afterglow. Afterglow is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. It's one of my all-times. The basis of this infatuation with this song is, in my mind, this is what I see as a healthy, good, loving relationship that I want to be in one day. Afterglow is this song about apologizing. It's her recognizing that she was kind of the one that started the fight or caused this rift in their relationship. And she comes back to him and says, "It was me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me." No, but she really comes back to him and says, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you, and I want to make this better. And I think in my head, that's what love is really about. It's about recognizing when you're the one that needs to apologize and doing everything you can to keep your love alive because this person means the most to you. In the bridge in this song, it shows that kind of desperation. Tell me that you're still mine. Tell me that we'll be just fine. Tell me that it's not my fault. Tell me that I'm all you want. And it kind of breathes that wanting to work for it and wanting to put in the effort and not letting a small thing or even a big thing get in the way of this love that she just needs in her life.
I absolutely love this song as well. I think it's a very good example of how to keep a relationship healthy because we all make mistakes. It's what happens after and how we work through things. I mean, we've talked about in other episodes, it's how you work through those problems that makes it a healthy relationship. And one of the things I love about this song is that she is coming from a place of, I blew things out of proportion and I hurt you because I made it bigger than it should have been, or I misunderstood. She said she thought she had a reason to attack, but she didn't. So a lot of times when you step back from a situation, you realize, oh, it is not at all what I thought was happening. And I love the apology in this. I love the humility. I love not only saying I'm wrong, but also I see how this has hurt you.
I think in a way, this is the big sister of the other side of the door.
Yes.
This is just the growth of recognizing no matter how hard it is or how uncomfortable, communicating is going to lead to resolution faster than shutting the other person out. I also think that Afterglow is the little sister of the Great War. These three songs are kind of a progression of learning how to work through things.
Yeah. So we're looking at it more as the behaviors involved and removing that piece or that element of infidelity, because that is a really tricky area, and relating to it in a more general way of like contention of some sort or a fight of some kind.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Great War isn't necessarily about communication, but I do think that it's a powerful ballad of no matter what, we're going to get through this together. And just the sentiment of you're the one that I reach for throughout the Great War is beautiful. But I love the progression from the communication or miscommunication in the other side of the door progressed onto Afterglow, which is this open apology and the need to talk, the need to say you're sorry because you want to fight for it. And then even from there, progressing onto the Great War, where my hand was the one you reached for all throughout this hard time. I love the line in Afterglow that she put him in jail for something he didn't do, because I've always loved that line and the line in the Great War where she says that her past is telling her to punish you for things you never did. And I think these sentiments just go so beautifully together. Afterglow and the Great War, I think, are two songs that really work together in showing us that jumping to conclusions and assuming is probably going to happen. That's our human nature. But it doesn't have to keep us from fighting for the relationship, and it doesn't have to keep you from working it out and overcoming that knee-jerk reaction to blame them for something you think that they did.
Yeah, I think in any relationship, taking ownership over your part in it is such a huge thing. And I think, like you said, this progression from these songs, looking at how I react, it's that communication and it's that taking ownership and stepping back and taking a bigger perspective of what is really happening, what is my part in it, what can we work through, where do I want this to go, and really maybe even that element of how severe the argument is there are people who have gotten through some very, very severe situations and they've gotten through them a lot stronger. And then there are others who just can't get through a light situation. And it's finding that balance of how do we communicate together? How do we work through things together? Do we both come out winners? It should be a win-win. It should be a working together. It should be apologies and humility and love and calling things what they are, because it's really easy to punish somebody for things they didn't do. It's really easy, but that's not healthy.
Yeah. And I also think what you said brings in the sentiment of hoax again, of trying to find the person that you're willing to get through the little and the big things with, and that you're willing to fight for a relationship with, regardless of what other people see your relationship as or what's going on within it. If it's right, it'll be the one you want to fight for. And sometimes it's hard to know while you're in the thick of it if it is right or if it's not, but you kind of have to step back and look at things from all angles.
So love is definitely made up of different layers. And we talked about those songs being the layer of healing and working through problems and finding resolution when there are rough waters, when there are problems, when there are moments of disagreement, misunderstanding, all of those things. Another layer that is so important within a relationship is the layer of simplicity, the layer of the day-to-day, the small things, the little things that build and make a relationship strong. And the song You Are in Love is a really good example of that. It's from the 1989 Deluxe. So this song may not be one of the most well-known or common songs, but I think there's such a depth to it, but all laid within the simplicity of life. And it talks about all of these little things that aren't necessarily tangible, all the little things that aren't necessarily defined as love or gestures of love, but they're little things like the way that you feel around somebody. So it's displayed in the chorus when it says, you can hear it in the silence, you can feel it on the way home, you can see it with the lights out, you're in love. It's kind of this intangible way of showing love, this unexplainable thing. I can't explain all of the reasons I love my husband. I can't explain all of the little things that made me fall in love with him, but I love that she's able to at least give us examples of those little unexplainable things that make you fall for somebody, but also that make you realize I love him, he loves me. I think one of the things that made me realize that I loved my husband more than anything was when I realized I wasn't sick of him. I know that's a really odd thing to say. That wasn't a criteria. It wasn't like this conscious thought. But as I realized I wasn't sick of him, I realized this is something that could go somewhere, because then I could look at previous relationships. You kind of get sick of people. But when I realized that I didn't need to step back from this relationship, he didn't annoy me, I didn't get sick of him, I wanted to continue being with him. And all of those little things just drew me to him. That's when I realized that this was something serious and that this was something I wanted to be involved with. It's just those small little things that add up one by one to realize that there is love between you.
Yeah, I love this song because the phrase that goes through my mind is, this is the moment you knew, but it's not the moment you knew they were wrong or that you needed to let them go or they weren't going to be there for you. This is the moment you know they're the one that you want to spend the rest of your life with. This is the moment you know that you're not sick of them, that you recognize, I think that this person really gets me.
And I love how this song in particular, the lyrics and the experiences and all the visual that you see, these are all very grounded in reality, but she brings in a little bit of an element of fantasy and fairy tale when she talks about you two are dancing in a snow globe round and round, because in a lot of other songs, it's grounded in fairy tale. And then you have glimpses of the reality in there, but this one is so real. And you see all of those real moments and the day to day and all of that. But yet you have this element of fairy tale and fantasy and the magic. And then you realize like the day to day is magic, but you also have these extra moments where you feel like you're in a snow globe and the magic is surrounding you. And so I love that difference in this song, that it is very grounded and very based in reality and real moments, bringing in a little bit of that magic. And really, you can hear it in the silence. I don't know quite how to explain that statement, but it is a very, very well written statement because you can hear it in the silence. In getting to know my husband, I realized that we could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it was very comfortable and we could talk about anything. But I also noticed we could sit in silence and have just as much comfort as we had talking. I never felt awkward. I never felt like I had to fill that silence because it already felt like we were in that silence and in that moment together. I love the line, you can hear it in the silence.
That's one thing that I have always admired and will always look for and strive for, because I'm the kind of person that really appreciates silence. I really enjoy when I can just sit with someone and not have to talk. And so I'm only me when I'm with you from a very young age was something that I just latched onto. I've always loved that song. To me, it could relate to my best friend or a possible romantic relationship, but it has always been something that I have wanted and looked for. The specific lyric is, and sometimes we don't say a thing, just listen to the crickets sing. And to me, that's beautiful when you have someone that silence is comfortable with. I think we all have people in our lives that sometimes it's a little exhausting to be around them because you feel like you have to fill the silence. You feel like you have to be talking or say goodbye, or you have to make an awkward exit or just get out or whatever when the conversation goes dull or quiet or nobody has something to say. But when you have someone that when you stop talking and no one has something to say, you still feel like it's comfortable. You still feel like there's a conversation there, that it's not over, that you don't need to leave awkwardly, that you can continue to just listen to them even when they're not speaking, and that they hear you when you're not speaking. I just think that's something magical. That's something powerful to find in your life.
Yeah, because silence can be really, really beautiful.
Absolutely. One more line in I'm Only Me When I'm With You before we jump to a different song is the bridge where she says, when I'm with anybody else, it's so hard to be myself and only you can tell. I think that
Mhm.
last line is the sweetest sentiment. It's beautiful how she knows that he notices. She sees that he gets when she's faking a smile. And I think it's just powerful to find someone who gets the little tiny things, who understands when you're faking a smile or your social battery has run out, or who's going to pull you away from a conversation that you clearly don't want to be in social situations, especially for introverts or omniverts. It's so important to have someone that gets when you're done and you gotta get out.
But also that knows you well enough that they know how to give you that confidence and give you a push when you need a push.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that lyric as well because only you can tell. It is so amazing to have a person who knows you so well that there are these secret communications between you, and nobody else knows certain quirks of mine. Nobody else knows what can set me off. Nobody knows all of that, but he does. And I love that. It's an interesting sense of security that somebody knows that about me and quite possibly knew it about me before I knew it about myself.
Yeah. Well, and the lyric, you took the time to memorize me from Stay, 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 goes along with this beautifully because you have to put in the effort to memorize someone if you're going to be the person that gets them and who can tell when they're not being themselves and who can help them to get back to themselves and give them the confidence, like you said, to be them and to go through life. You know, you just have to have someone that gets you. and that has taken that time to memorize you. I think that's so special.
I love that you've moved into Stay, Stay, Stay because it has one of my favorite lines. And maybe that's because I'm so self-aware and our conversation from the other side of the door. But I love the lyric, "No one else is going to love me when I get mad." Because that says a lot about someone when they can love you at your worst, when you're not as lovable. That's one of my favorite lines in all of Taylor work.
Yeah, I love the subtlety of, okay, let's talk. In her mind, it's this big thing that needs to be worked out. And in his mind, it's just a little thing that's going to get worked out. Okay, let's talk.
But it also brings in humor. And that's another thing I love. And maybe that's because my husband is much more humorous than I am. I'm the serious one, and he brings in humor and jokes and laughter. And maybe that's why I love this song so much, because I feel that with him. I'm like the uptight, rigid one, and he is just fun. And he brings a lot of humor and joy into my world. He's the only one that could even. I think when other people are trying to make jokes, I get more mad. But when he does it in some instances,
He knows the right button to push to make you laugh when you're mad.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. Like, there are multiple buttons. It's not just buttons to make people
for
upset,
sure.
but like he's taken the time to memorize me and know how to make me laugh, how to make me feel comfort, how to make me feel confident, all of those different ways that he's memorized me. I love it. But also in this song, it's the sound of it and the music and the fun. It is so much fun. And relationships should be fun, even when you're mad, even when you're struggling, even when there are these things going on. It should still be fun. You should have that element of lightheartedness. I also want to point out, she in this song kind of expects him to leave, but he still loves her and he still wants to be there and he still wants to work through it. And I think a lot of times we can be surprised by what our significant other will handle, and their perspective may not be as heavy or dark as ours. I love that she's surprised that he stays. And she's like, yep, it's a good idea. I think we should both stay. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that
idea. And then she points out that all those times that he didn't leave, it's been occurring to me, I'd like to hang out with him for my whole life. And it's so beautiful. She just has that recognition of, I keep expecting him to leave and he doesn't. And I think I'm realizing I don't want him to ever. So perhaps we could make this a forever thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so cute. And I also think the fun in this song mirrors Paper Rings. I think these two songs go almost hand in hand. And Paper Rings is another one where she realizes, I don't care if it's got diamonds or if it's made out of a receipt. I want to make it official. I want to be with this person forever. They're both so fun and light and kind of that giddy side of love that you just are happy. You're happy with this person and you want to be happy with them forever.
Yeah. These two bring in the important element of fun into a relationship. You need to have fun. You need to enjoy your time together. There needs to be some of that giddiness.
Yeah. It doesn't need to all be serious. You can also just be cute and weird. And I love that aspect of it too. And you should just want to hang out with that person. Like they're your best friend.
Something that this song kind of brings out in my mind is that expectation can be very different from what you want. I mean, I know I like shiny things, but this, what I have right now with you, trumps everything. And so I think that this brings in that element of expectation, and that, of course, we need guidelines and expectations, and we know what we want in relationships, or we know those characteristics that will work well with us, but we can't predict everything. And so it's kind of fun that, I mean, I want and I expect and I hope for this shiny ring, metaphorical, of course, but like I hope and want this diamond ring, but man, this is so much better than my expectation ever was. And like I said, metaphorically, there can be things that you didn't think you wanted. I married a boy from Idaho that grew up in a very rural town. not at all what I expected or wanted or thought, but yet it's what I want. It's what I choose. It trumps everything. All of those visions of what I thought my life would be like. We've built this world together that I would take over any expectation that I ever had, or any hope or dream or anything that I could have ever dreamt up in my head. It's better.
I think we all grow up with a type in our mind, but the universe never ceases to surprise us with what's really the best for us and what really brings us the most amount of joy in our life. And I think that's no different in this instance, that you can have a type all your life, and yet the person that you find that you really want to be with for the rest of your life could meet none of those criteria that you had at first. And they can still be everything that you want and more.
And more, for sure. And I love this song because I do feel like it really mirrors my relationship with my husband, because she talks about in the winter in the icy pool, when you jumped in first, I went in too. I'm with you. Like I said, he is funny. He's humorous. He brings adventure into my world that I don't think I could muster myself. But when he jumps in, I want to jump in because I feel comfortable with him and I know that I'm safe with him. And so I take risks and I go on adventures with him that I probably would not have gone on with anybody else. And all of that is so unexpected to me. And so I feel like this song really is a reflection of my relationship with Dan. I love it. It's one of my favorites, but it also takes me to this whole adventure of Run. I love the song Run with Ed Sheeran. This whole idea, like, we all need some alone time. It's important, but we also need alone time with that significant other. And I love Run, where it's like, let's just go. And whether it's a physical location or just this metaphorical situation, let's just be together. Let's run. Like, let's jump into something. Let's go somewhere. Let's do something. And I love that spontaneity with this song because I'm not a spontaneous person. He brings in that element of spontaneity into my life and my world, and I love it. There's just this element of being in a place of love and infatuation with Run, kind of like Paris. Let's just be all in this situation and run. Like, our lives depend on it because we want to build this adventure together.
And this idea of keeping this special love to yourself is also displayed in The Lakes, which is a song about specifically wanting to avoid press and tabloids and paparazzi and expectations and this world of media and hunters with cell phones. But I love the idea of knowing that there's a place for you and your significant other, knowing that you belong together and you belong somewhere special and sacred. And I think The Lakes is just a beautiful song that shares that. You can run, you can hide, you can be in Paris, you can be at the lakes, and you can just be with your person. Whether it is a physical place that you go to or if it's just a state of mind, it's important to be just you two. Like you were talking about having silence, it's important to feel like you can and you want to just spend time with them in silence or in communication or just being together.
Not only that, but in The Lakes, it gives this impression where it's a place of safety and security where you can cry, where you can escape, where you can go and just be absent from everything else, but also you can be vulnerable and you can be kind of in that emotional, sad place, but know that he's there with you or she, and that they are your love and support in that hideaway, in that place where you shut yourself off from the rest of the world, but you don't shut yourself off from him. And he's there to love and to support and to get through those times with you. I love The Lakes. I love the sound of it. I love the visual and the poetry of it. I want auroras and sad prose. I want to watch wisteria grow right over my bare feet because I haven't moved in years. I love it.
Yeah, I also love where she says, with my calamitous love and insurmountable grief. I think The Lakes is also a symbol of this place where your emotions can be big.
Mm-hmm.
I think in life and in society, we try to suppress and we make our emotions small. We say, oh, I'm fine. It's just this, or I'll be okay. It's just that, or it's just a crush, or it's just this, or just that. And we minimize our emotions and our feelings because we don't want others to see, or we don't want others to care, or we don't want it to be talked about. We don't want it to be embarrassing. But this is a place where her calamitous love and her insurmountable grief can be big, and they can take up space, and they can be dealt with, and they can be felt and known, and they can just be. And I think that's also a powerful thing in relationships, where you don't feel like you need to hide your emotions from them. You don't need to make them be small or insignificant. You can tell them that you're feeling this way and it's big and it hurts, or that it's big and you're excited, and you want them to be just as equally excited because it's big. And I think that's another side of it. It's not just these negative emotions that we minimize, but it's the joy, it's the excitement that we make small because we're ashamed of being excited or proud of something that we've done. And yet it's important to have this person that your excitement can be big with as well, and that your pride can be big with as well, that you can say, hey, I did this really cool thing, that you can be fully excited about.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think vulnerability is really hard. And I'm speaking from my own experience. I have a hard time being vulnerable to people. And I don't know if it's that I'm being false. It's just that I want a certain side of me to show. But with my husband, he knows all the sides of me. He knows all the different angles and layers. Like we talked about before, it's the person that you can be yourself around. So that whole vulnerability and being open and being honest with somebody brings to mind the song That's When with Keith Urban, because this song is kind of giving somebody space. Really, we need to be strong on our own to have a strong and healthy relationship with someone else. If we're broken, they can help and they can help mend us, but each individual needs to be themselves. And a lot of times, no matter how close you are, no matter how perfect a match you are, they can't fix that for you. There are times where you need a little bit of space. You need to go figure things out. And I love the song That's When, because there is that separation. There is that, like, I need to go figure some stuff out. When can I come back? And they're like, just come back. Just come back. That's when, whenever. So it's letting somebody have that space, but also being absolutely open for that person to return in whatever state they return in. A lot of times I feel like I need to go and like figure myself out and fix some things. But once I'm gone, once I'm removed, I realize I just want him there. I just want him beside me. This is really interesting because it kind of goes back to a metaphor that Dan used when we were dating. And I kind of gave him a hard time about it, but now I get it. So he talked about a rubber band theory where people need to kind of get away from something and kind of step back. And then as a rubber band, they'll always come back. And I was the kind of person who was like, well, if you don't want to be around me all the time, do you really love me? Like, why don't you always want to be with me? Why do you want to go be alone? So that was me when we were dating, because I thought in that dating stage, I was misreading some of his behavior. And so he brought up this whole rubber band theory that sometimes people need to take a step back and then they'll come back because of that force bringing you back. It helped me understand some of his behaviors weren't a reflection of his love for me. It was kind of a rejuvenating thing. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. I've never heard the rubber band theory, which is funny because
I know. And I gave him such a hard time about it. I mean, I remember the location I was when I confronted him about feeling like he was distanced from me and being like, what's going on? Or like, is our relationship in jeopardy? And he was like, no. Let me explain this rubber band theory to you. And I remember where I was sitting in the college library when this conversation happened. And it was so eye-opening to me to have that explained to me. And I understand it. I mean, I actually feel it now. I get it. And this song, That's When, it reminds me of that so strongly. It puts that theory into a poetic, beautiful form. And here it is. I don't know why we haven't talked about that rubber band theory with our kids. Apparently we haven't.
yeah, this is the first time hearing it, but I love it. And I think it is really well displayed displayed in the song That's When, because this idea of kind of hesitation. Am I allowed to come back? Did I say something? Did I go too far? Did I mess this up? But the innocence of when can I come back, and the confidence in the answer of any time. When I wake up, when I go to bed, when it's sunny or when it's storming, it doesn't matter when or where I'm at or where you're at, you can come back because I want you back and I want us to be together. I love the question, when you were gone, did you ever think of me? And the answer being, yeah, the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that same thing that Dad was trying to explain. The distance isn't in the relationship, it's just so that I can have some time alone. But the idea that the whole time I was gone, I was still thinking of you.
Mm-hmm.
I still love you. I still want you, even when I take that space, even when I'm on my own, even when I take a step back. And I'll always come back because when I'm gone, I think of you. I just love that simple, sweet sentiment that it doesn't matter when or where or how or when or why or who, you just have that person that you're always going to come back to, that rubber band in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. He's my rubber band. He's a pretty cool one.
Speaking of, I love the line in Sweet Nothing where she says, I find myself running home to your sweet nothing. In this song, it's just kind of like the rubber band snaps back and you just run back to your person. And it's the nature of a rubber band to snap back into place.
And I love that too. I love that she said not only running home to him, she's running home to his sweet nothings. Like she's running home to that love and that support and all of those things that build a world together and build your day-to-day support and comfort. And the one person that has your back and the one person that champions you and believes in you and thinks that the things you do are wonderful and he's proud of you. I love Sweet Nothing.
Yeah, I really think it's just the sweetest, most tender song about love.
So this song encapsulates a lot of the different layers that we were talking about throughout the episode, one of them being a safe place to land. She talks about voices imploring her that she should be doing more. And then she says, to you, I can admit that I'm just too soft for all of it. So the pressures and the struggle and all of those things that she's trying to be strong for, she can be vulnerable with him. So that's one layer. And then another layer is the day-to-day, just the simple things like he's humming in the kitchen, just being there. He's there for her. And then, like you said, running home to him. And then there's on the way home, she writes a poem and he says, what a mind. This happens all the time. And then it brings in the element of memories of these places they've been and the things that they've done, finding the little pebble in Wicklow. I love all the different layers that are involved in this song. This one is so, so sweet.
It's a beautiful lullaby of love. When you listen, you really just feel that it's good and right and true love. And that's what we wanted to talk about today, this love that Taylor knows what it is, and we can feel that through her songs. We can feel what real love is, what successful love is, what communicative love is, what supportive love is, what wholesome love is, what passionate love is, just all of these things that go into the one you want to spend the rest of your life with. And this idea that healthy relationships are out there, they're true, they work, good relationships are possible. And I think also a small part of why we wanted to do this episode is to prove that she doesn't just write about heartbreaks and she doesn't just throw her partners under the bus. She really loves people and she knows how to love them and she knows what receiving real love is like. She shows us in the songs that we've talked about today and others that true, real, right, good, wholesome, passionate, kind love is out there. It's possible and it's something worth fighting for, and it's something to look for and to hope for. She keeps hope alive. So that's where we're going to wrap it up today. However, we are going to have another bonus episode next Tuesday Not every relationship ends badly. We're going to talk about some of these relationships that simply ended, but you still love that person and you still want the best for them.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Our Swift Epiphanies.
Follow us on social media at Our Swift Epiphanies for behind the scenes and bonus content, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive video content.
Get in on the conversation by commenting or messaging us with your Swift Epiphanies.